Okay, so in this video, I want to be going through the exact framework that I used to generate $13,000 today in cash collected, $20,000 in revenue, off of $3,000 in paid advertising spend. We took over this client's info business that involved taking over their sales team, their CSM team, their marketing team, their paid ads, their performance team, and also a bit of their branding team as well. You can see the reason they were that we were taking over this account is because the last media hire had a 0.96 ROAS, which means they're losing money on both the gross profit individual level, the variable cost level, and they're also losing their fixed costs as well. So you have to be above a 1.0 unless you have a zero fixed cost business, which is almost never the case, right? So we immediately changed everything, their pricing, their model, their script, their sales team. Everything was gutted from scratch. Okay. It was built on a poor foundation. We spent $9,000 in the first month. That was the total amount of marketing budget that we could afford to spend. We generated a 4.68 ROAS in the first month. Since then, we've averaged a 3.4x ROAS. Okay. You can see here that in the last 3 months, we've actually had a decline in the return on advertising spend. Now, let's talk about the model of this business. Let's get a little bit more granular. The metrics that we're tracking are total ad spend, the organic revenue that's attributed by Hyros. We're going to talk more about Hyros later on. The new high ticket revenue, the new high ticket upfront cash collected. Okay, cash collected total percentage. Okay, of all the cash collected percentage upfront. We have low ticket sales. We have a downsell that is aimed at liquidating the spend. Now, typically in any lead generation campaign, unless you're running a lead form campaign, you're going to have what I call is the sawdust, okay, which is these leads that are not worthwhile for your sales team to speak to, but you might as well send them somewhere. We create a low ticket funnel to send traffic to. Eventually, once we start getting towards that $1 million a month mark, it's my intention, and what I've done in the past is we actually start driving traffic directly to a low ticket funnel. We try and liquidate a higher percentage of the spend, and we actually try to we liquidate a higher percentage of the spend, and we try and achieve the net CPA that is equal to what we're getting on the book a call high ticket funnel. Okay. But we always want to validate new offers and new businesses with the VSL book a call funnel because of our time to market. Webinars, low ticket funnels, they can take a long time to validate. VSL high ticket call funnels, I can build something in an afternoon that can at least get us to 100 grand a month, 200 grand a month if we're focusing on that in market demographic that we've talked about in some other videos. And then I can start playing with fancier funnels that arguably have more scale potential and capture different segments of the marketplace because candidly, there are different types of buyer avatars. Some prefer to purchase through the longer drawn out webinars where they consume more content. Some prefer to speak with a highly competent individual and make a decision rather quickly on a sales call funnel. And then a smaller segment of the audience would prefer to purchase a low ticket that is clearly delineated from the high ticket, start small with our company, and then build a relationship from there. The key with the low ticket to not cannibalize the high ticket is that information products, the upsell can't be more of what they already just bought. That will piss people off. If you buy a system, a course, and they find out in order to access that course that they need to purchase more information to make work, they get pissed off, right? They expect to already have that. Physical goods is the opposite. If physical goods, the best upsell that you can have is always more of what they just bought. Okay, that's a Russell Brunson concept. But a big reason this business was not really successful in that first month, going back to when they had a 0.96 ROAS, is they were kind of operating in the mid-ticket price range. Okay, and this was about, I would call mid-ticket $1,000 to $2,000. Mid-ticket is too small for a salesperson. The unit economics don't shake out for them to make enough money. But it's not low ticket in that you're not getting enough buyer leads. There's not a huge upsell propensity there when you're marketing in that way. Okay. What you really want to do, okay, when you're running a low ticket funnel is you want to track something called the EPC. Okay, so that's your cost per click and how much money you make for a click. And you want to split test varying different levels of price. Okay, and you want to see those numbers side by side. What you're eventually going to find, and what I've seen this many times, is you can test various low ticket pricing. So 27, 67, 197. People all get bent out of shape about their conversion rate. It doesn't matter, okay, because you're trying to see what is the ROAS, what is the earnings per click that you're making, okay, because you can drive the price down very low, have a very high conversion rate. And conversely, you can also have a very high price, but a low conversion rate. You can make a lot of money because it's the unit economics work in your favor. But when they're operating in this mid-ticket range, those are typically reserved for presentation style funnels. And this influencer was just very much relying on their organic brand. So they could do a lot of things wrong and still make this worthwhile. But after the offer started fatiguing, the mid-ticket funnel was no longer viable. And so what I told them is I said, you either need to go fully low ticket to where the EPC is going to be similar or actually better. It was much better on the funnel. And you're getting more buyers to ascend. And you need to delineate the low ticket. So if this was a dating course, which is transparently is a dating course, okay, instead of just saying this is a small dating course part 1, this is big dating course part 2, upsell into my bigger dating ticket course for 10 times the price. You don't want to do that. You want to say, here's the texting guide. Here is the Instagram guide. Here is the XYZ guy. And then here's the full-on coaching program to get you the desired result. And you want to err on the side of more value in the low ticket because that's going to interface with a higher percentage of buyers. It has to be delineated. It has to be clearly defined. I'm not super interested in maximizing the AOV on these low ticket funnels because in 2025, the cost of media is too high to really make money from low ticket by itself. Like it used to be in the past, or in 2018, 2019, I could get a $400, $500 AOV and I could have a $20, $30, $40 CPA with no optimization, no sales team, not talk to anybody, be in my apartment and do a 3X or 4X, right? But times have changed, okay? And if you're operating in the high ticket info coaching space, the economics are just better if you can price higher. So really, if you're low ticket, the only purpose of low ticket is to get into high ticket, to get a buyer lead, to break even, or to liquidate some portion of the ad spend and ascend. Okay, so if you test and your EPC is the same at 197, 67, and 27 and 97, I would probably go for the 27 product because you're getting more buyers. Does that make sense? So this business, when they're operating in mid-ticket, they didn't have the right funnel. They're not getting enough buyers because it's mid-ticket, okay? And then they're not getting high tickets because it's cannibalizing the high ticket and it seems like the same thing. So we just switched to high ticket. High ticket book a call funnel. High ticket book a call funnels are very, very important for when you think that the customer has a differentiated and a very unique problem that is individual to them. So in the dating niche, for instance, whether it is true, whether it's not true, people view their own problems as unique, okay? If you're selling BizUp, I actually really enjoy a webinar because you're selling a system. But dating is so deep and so personal to people's self-worth and there's so many different lanes that it can go down. We can talk about their relationship problems, their trauma, their issue like cold approach. There's such a wide array of problems that I like to book a call funnel for this offer. Okay. When I was working with wealth advisors, okay, they wanted to do a webinar. And I told them, I think it's a horrible idea. Number one, it's difficult to get everybody to show up asynchronously. And number two, everybody has different pain points. Some people have, they want to talk about their child's health saving account. Some people want to talk about their child's special needs trust. Some people want to talk about alternative investments. Some people want to talk about tax planning, estate planning. Like, it's so unique. People's finances, people's dating lives. It's a very, very unique sale. Okay. If I was selling telemedicine, right, I would want that to primarily be a sales call. And I would kind of want, because people's health and you could still do a webinar, but you get my point. Like, I was hearing Cole Gordon talk to Ryan Clogg the other day. And he talked about, like, if you were trying to upsell somebody who just done a blood panel into maybe your telemedicine or HRT or something like that with great revenue retention, you can do a diagnosis with them on that first call after they purchase and go through their discovery of, like, all the things you found in their blood work and then prescribe them something based on what they found there. Right. So that would be an instance where you'd obviously want to do a book a call funnel and not want to do a webinar or low ticket funnel. Okay. Now, there's a lot of drawbacks to the high ticket call funnel. The biggest issue and the reason why people aren't successful with the book a call funnel in 2025 is they're not consuming enough content. Okay. So there's different ways we do that. Very simple answer is that we run engagement campaigns before somebody's able to book a call with us. So with our clients, if you work with us and you work with our agency, right now for this client, somebody's consuming 55 pieces of short and long form content before they get on the phone with us. How powerful is that? How powerful is that? Versus a 2 or 3 minute VSL where they watched 20% of it. Like, are they really going to pull the trigger on a $5,000, $10,000 offer with that level of information? Probably not. But we compress in a period of 30 days, 55 pieces of unique content. We own their entire newsfeed. So that's the power of this strategy. Okay. Now, let's go through the metrics we're tracking, okay? So we track the upfront cash collected percentage. We track low ticket sales. We track the liquidation percentage. We use the Jeremy Haynes hammer them ad strategy, which is after they book a call, we hammer them with those retargeting campaigns. You can use Robbie Avavala's content first ad strategy. Really all it is you're targeting people with engagement campaigns, then ask them to book the call, okay? We track installments, we track upsells, and we track back-end purchases. Okay, we track new customer cash collect. We track the total cash collected attributed to paid ads. We track the percent change month over month. Okay, that's very important. If you're scaling up 30, 40%, your lead cost raises 30, 40%, then whatever amount you scale, let's say you scaled $1,000 per day, if you let that campaign run and the earnings per lead stays the same, you just cost that business $30,000 a month in profit. So you have to make sure if you're scaling a book a call funnel, the early and the leading indicators stay healthy as you're scaling up, okay? We track qualified leads. The earnings per qualified lead just on the new high ticket upfront cash is a really important scaling metric. Yes, there's other ways we're monetizing these leads. We have a webinar cleanup every single month. We can talk to you about that in a second. We track cost per qualified lead. We track the cost per qualified lead increase. We track the ad spend daily spend increase, the cost per qualified lead monthly increase. Okay, we track live calls taken, cost per booking, cost per live call, CPA, live call to close rate, deals won, average upfront cash collected. Okay, this is what I'm looking every single day, and we're putting red on something that is out of KPI, something in green that is improving, and then somebody typically owns that in our department. Somebody owns that key KPI. Okay, most people when they're delegating other people, they're delegating tasks instead of the outcome that you want. So for instance, we have department leads in our setter team. We have department leads on our sales team. We have department leads in our CSM and our finance team. Every day, my VAs consolidate reports from those various departments. So I don't manage these people and say, do this, do that, do that. I just say, I don't care what you do. This is what needs to happen. The show up rate needs to be above 60%. The close rate needs to be above 20%. I don't care what you do. Just deliver me the outcome. And that's where you get a lot of freedom back. Okay. Where's the constraint? Who's trying to solve the constraint? Okay. Here's some proof, by the way, of all this that I wanted to show you. You can see here's one of our payment processors. Here's another payment processor during that same period. You can see just for the month of June, there's 50 in this one. There's 200 in this one. You can see in the last 3 months on our Hyros account, we did 450K cash. Now, let's talk about the funnel that we're using. First step in our funnel is we're sending them to a page, a VSL page. Sometimes I have an opt-in, sometimes I don't. It totally depends on the business, okay? If you're using an opt-in, I highly encourage you to optimize the lead event. You can send that email address and that phone number back to a platform that enriches the data and will search up their credit history and their income and their net worth. Optimize around that event because now in 2025, people are relying on the application. And it's more frictionless. Like if you can dig up the information yourself without asking for that information, that friction is going to drive up the lead costs, okay? With this client, we got the best results by having non-gated. So they just went directly to a VSL page where they immediately could go straight into the application. Okay, now when they go into the application, I want to show you the flow. The first thing that they're asking is they're asking a very easy, open-ended question that makes it easy. It gets them into commitment consistency bias. So we want a very easy, very fun multiple choice question that gets them started and frames them in terms of what type of offer this is. After a couple more questions like that, we get into a financial qualifier, and this is how we really start to score leads. Leads where there's just no chance that we're ever going to make money from them, and it's not worthwhile for my sales team to take a phone call with them. We send them immediately to the downsell, and we liquidate 20% of the spend. We pride ourselves in being good at the 3 core funnels, which is high ticket, low tickets to high ticket ascension, and also webinar funnels. Those we think are the predominant 3 ways to make money in 2025 in the info space. We use our low ticket expertise to liquidate some of that ad spend on the high ticket spend because at the end of the day, you're just going to have leads that are not qualified if you're using Typeform or, if you're not using lead forms as your primary way of getting clients, which is a very low friction way. I would not recommend using lead forms for most info offers. You can get by with it with service offers, and we've done really well. We raised about $6.5 million this year from lead forms for accredited investors and qualified purchaser investors. But for an info offer like this, we have to use a VSL call funnel. We have to add more friction, okay? But anyway, going back to this question here, this is a financial qualifier that asks income, okay? This is really important. People that are making more than $100,000 a year are able to book a call. Reason for that is, as a general rule of thumb, I find that 5 to 10% of someone's annual income, they are comfortable spending on a high ticket coaching program. So for somebody and I reverse engineer that. So if this AOV is going to be $5,000, they need to be making $100,000 for them to speaking with our sales team, right? So we ask them, we break it up. It's $0 to $50,000 a year, $50 to $100,000 a year. Okay, $100 to $200,000 a year, and $200,000 a year plus. Okay, Somebody's making less than 50 grand a year, not even worthwhile to see our lowest tier package on that sales call of 3K. Okay, it's 5K AOV. It's not 5K fixed. That's a really important detail. All of our clients, my system that I've run my entire life is you offer tiered pricing solutions on the sales call. We're going to talk about that in a second. Now, the people that make 50 to 100K a year, they're kind of on the fringe. They're cutting it close to whether or not they'd be qualified for our lowest tier high ticket offering of $3,000. What we do is we send those people to a triage call and then on the closers count. The people that are making $100,000 to $200,000 a year, they're rich. They're going to get pissed off if they have to go to a setter call and then they don't get the information that they need. So what you want to do is you want to treat those busy rich people differently. They don't want to go to 2 calls to get the information. They need the information now or they're going to bounce. They're going to find another company that's more respectful of their time. So with high ticket buyers, you want to book those directly on the closer's calendar. Okay. Those people that you think could kind of monopolize your closer's team or you're unsure about, that segment of lead, go to a triage call and then book on the closer's calendar, or you can experiment with just sending the downsell. Okay. We were originally sending the 50 to 100K segment to the downsell, but then we started testing 50 to 100K segment to a triage call and that won in the split test. Okay. Now let's talk about the pixel optimization. What you want to do when you're working with a marketer, especially on Meta or YouTube, most of the targeting now is done through the AI and the pixel training, the feedback you're giving the system, not the explicit targeting on the platform itself. So what you want to do is you can see here is that based on which confirmation page they send to, that will dictate whether or not the conversion event gets sent back by the conversion API. Okay. So if, for instance, if somebody is a very high ticket buyer that we know has a much higher probability of converting, they're making more than 200 grand a year. By the way, we score all of our leads based on those tiers. And we know that as somebody raises an income, they have an exponentially higher chance of converting. We're optimizing towards the most qualified leads possibly that we can. The pixel's firing there. If somebody's on that 50 to 100K segment, we do not want to fire the pixel. Okay. Facebook is always going to try and find you the cheapest possible leads that it can find that where it's getting that conversion event, a successful conversion event. It will always kind of gradually fall to the floor. So if you set the floor as $50,000 a year, it will fall to the floor. Okay. So you define where your floor is. Our floor is 100K plus, but we're actually optimizing for 250K plus earners. Okay. That's what's driving the highest ROI. Okay. Now, the biggest part of my success in the info space has really come down to using a bunch of third-party successful tools, one of which being Hyros, okay? And first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to set up Hyros. You're going to install this code across all of your sites, okay? We use this for our Google ads or Meta ads or TikTok ads or Snapchat ads, everything. So we're installing the script. We're integrating our payment processor. We're integrating our lead collection tool, which is Typeform, and we're integrating Calm, okay? Then what I notice every single day is my widgets. Okay, so I create widgets and dashboards per every single source. Okay, so you can see here's my sample Google Ads template. Here's my sample Meta Ads template. Right now, we're actually getting higher quality lead and a much higher conversion rate and a much higher show up rate on YouTube and PPC. Main difference between the two platforms is that with YouTube, you're actually going to have a hint of intent. It's not purely an interruption-based channel, okay? PPC, on the other hand, it's great in some niches, okay? It doesn't have the same upward scale potential as interruption-based marketing. But, and it has very short sales cycles with PPC, okay? YouTube kind of is a blend of both search-based and interruption-based, and that you're targeting people, you're interrupting them, but you're targeting keywords and these people that are in market and they're searching actively for these solutions. On Meta, fundamentally, the AI is driven by about 50,000 data points per user. And really what's happening is it's targeting people that are engaging with ads and clicking on ads and scheduling calls with similar ads in your industry. And then Facebook will tag them as in your market. So if you click on a bunch of dating ads, you'll get targeted with our ads. Versus somebody that is on YouTube, where they're actively, in this instance, we're targeting people that are searching for dating apps and dating-related coaching. Okay, so it's a much higher intent. Higher cost for the lead. As you can see, it's a $500 cost per unique call, but we have a higher show up rate because the intent's there and we have a shorter sales cycle. We're fortunate that we are, one of the bigger agency accounts within Hyros. We have priority support and we get to pull all kinds of custom reports with the engineers and they calculate our sales cycle on both respective platforms. We have a shorter sales cycle coming from YouTube and PPC, the shortest coming from PPC, and then even a little bit longer coming from YouTube, and then the longest coming from Meta. where it's a little bit more curious level of lead instead of true intent that you're getting from Google. We also have separate funnels for both platforms because the quality of the intent here is much higher, and we're also targeting based on income thresholds. On YouTube, you can select which income demographic, top 20%, top 30% on YouTube. We don't have to have the same level financial qualifiers or qualifiers in general, or the same kind of aggressive follow-up sequences that we do on Meta, where show up rate is an issue. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. And these leads are also sent to the top closers because they're much higher quality. You always want to be pairing the best leads with the best closers. So that's multifactorial, that based on the application, the lead scoring model, and that also comes down to the platform in which they're being sent from. And typically your best closers are going to respond better to intent-based leads as opposed to interruption-based leads. Okay. Every single day what I'm looking at is all of our high ticket deals that came through. Today we had about 4 high ticket deals worth about $4K a pop. It was about 16 to 18K in rev and about 12K in cash off of $3,000 in paid advertising spend. Every day what I'm doing is I'm going into Hyros, I'm looking at all the lead journeys, and I want to see what's going on here. I want to see if I'm picking up on any patterns and if there's any different ways in which I should be allocating the paid advertising. And if there's any different ways that I should be allocating the paid advertising spend, okay? If you're very diligent about setting up your reports, okay, and you set up your widgets properly, okay, and you're prioritizing paid sources, which is very important. We can talk about that in a little bit more detail. You have a high tracking percentage, and you're also looking at deals and leads that don't have an attribution source, and you're making sure that all of your tracking and your URL rules are set up in place. So we set up a Facebook organic link, a YouTube organic link, a Google organic link, so that if somebody made a purchase and the last place they came from, the last website they came from rather, was one of these sites, it can be attributed there as well. Okay, that's going to be very, very important for you to be identifying patterns. If you have a big influx in organic traffic for 1 month, you don't want to get the green light to then start allocating a bunch of spend towards your paid sources. Okay, that's super, super important. Okay. Now, every day I'm looking every day at all the deals. You can see all the deals that came in just for 8/19. We had, call it, you can see that about $12,000 for today. Okay. And you can see here, you can see on this audience here, it came from the dating apps audiences, but it also engaged with our Facebook ads. Okay, this is a Facebook ad. You wouldn't know that, but this is our Facebook ad set name. You can see this one, the last source there that attributed was Google Organic. This one came from the YouTube Organic. So I'm looking at this every single day and I'm making decisions, okay? One of the things that we did with our clients is we hired a short form editor. What we're doing is we create sub accounts for this influencer, and we post a lot of short form organic content across 20 different accounts, and they all feed into the main account. What that is doing is that gives us a lot of retargeting audiences that we can use and leverage in our paid advertising efforts. And what we're noticing is a lot of the high ticket deals are engaging with these short form organic accounts as well. So that's providing an additional source of lead nurture, of diversification there. Okay. Now, I also want to show you kind of our closer dashboard here. So as you can see, we track all the closers, what percentage of bookings they're allocated. The most important metric that I care about is cash collected per booking. Okay, this is a very important metric because if I can just, when I'm media buying, if I look at what it costs for me to book a call and how much upfront cash collected per book call, then I know kind of if I'm going to be in the green or not. Right now, we're swinging around $150. So I know that even if they don't collect another penny, okay, I'm still going to be, if I have $250 earnings per book call on the front end, I'm going to be at least, what is that? Like 1.7 ROAS just on the front end. Now we average about, where's the upfront cash collected percentage here? We average around 60% upfront, and then we average 95% total cash collected lifetime. Okay, so you're also going to get a big lift there. Okay. Now, if one of the reps has a very low cash collected per booking, okay, then I'm going to look and see, okay, is that a close rate issue? Is that a skill issue? Is there anything that they could be doing to influence their show up rate and help them? Okay, a lot of times you're going to get lazy closers that just totally defer to the setters and think it's beneath them. But that's a very, very important metric, because even if somebody's a great closer, but they're letting all these deals slip through the cracks, so to speak, and they're not doing a good job, you're still paying for all those leads. Okay, people will only look at close rate, but if you're working with a closer that only lets the highest intent leads show for the calendar, oftentimes, although their close rate might look artificially higher, okay, they are not doing the best thing for the business. They are not, they're actually doing the business a disservice. So we look at both metrics, okay? cash collected per booking, cash collected per live call. Okay, cash collected per live call is a skill issues, is reflective of their skill and their presentation. Cash collected per booking is more reflective of what they're doing overall for the business, because you are paying for every individual booking. Okay. Now, the main keys that we leverage for this 25% close rate, by the way, if you didn't see that, we have a 45% show up rate, which we're not proud of, and a live call close rate of just shy of 25%. Okay. On a $5,000 AOV. Okay. Average contract size. This is actually incorrect. Okay. Average contract size is closer to about 5,500. And by the way, we do all manual entry. I've played around with so many dashboard tools over the years. Like I use Plecto, I use Consolidated. These are tools that feed all API from 20 different sources. I prefer to do it manually. We have all the department leads and the VAs import it manually. It's really important for their level of awareness, and it drills this into their nervous system exactly what their KPIs are if they're manually importing it. And then also just from a technical and practical standpoint, it's so easy to just have one false API system that stops pulling in and the whole dashboard breaks. So we prefer Google Sheets because of its how malleable it is, how easy it is, how customizable it is, even if it's not 100% manual automated. And we just pay a VA $100 a month. That's what those software tools would cost anyway. Okay. I was watching one of Ryan Dicey's videos the other day. He does $200 million a year. He still uses Google Sheets for anything. So it might seem simple, but it may seem too simple or overly simple, but I still think I think it's way better than all the consolidating and all the reporting tools there. Okay. Now, how do we achieve a 25% close rate? Because in 2025, where the market is absent of trust, a lot of people ask me about that. And what I will tell them is that there's a lot of things that we're doing. Okay. So prior to the calls, we do lead nurture campaigns. So after somebody books a call, they get targeted with lead nurture campaigns. And before somebody can speak with one of our reps, this is crucial in 2025, we run engagement campaigns. They are on average consuming 55 pieces of content. This is the beauty of our skill set here at my agency, is that we combine the benefits of organic and paid. Organic is great defense. It's allowing you to build a moat. It's allowing you to build a following, a brand, something that's long-term sustainable. Paid ads is offense, to where you're deploying capital to move forward and accelerate your level of impressions. But the leads that come from there are typically not as interested. They are not as inclined. They're not as motivated. They lack trust. If you could combine the two, have a great top of funnel lead generation system, but then take your organic pieces of content and target all the people that book calls. Add those people after they book a call into a custom audience, run the engagement campaigns for the duration of your sales cycle. That's where you combine both worlds, and where you have a growth engine, you can deploy capital and get a very attractive return that is far greater than investing in the S&P index or, investing in a crypto. Okay. I'm on average tripling the money that I invest into paid advertising. Okay. So it's unbelievably attractive from a return perspective if you have that option available to you and you're not reliant on the slow compounding that comes from organic. Okay. Now, the lead nurture is a big part of why we're able to achieve the 25% close rate. Once they get on the sales call, first part of the sales call is the discovery. Okay. I learned this from Cole Gordon. You have to identify, you have to be proactive about preventing the objection, because once the objection comes up, it's too late. Now you're fighting on your back foot. An ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. Okay. So you need to screen for their budget, their authority, their timing. If they have any, any partners involved with the project, you have to screen that ahead of time before you ask for money. Because once you say no, it's very, very hard to go backwards. Okay. So for instance, you could say, hey, do you have any other partners that need to be involved in this decision? Why is right now important to you? Okay. And if they don't say what's super important to me right now, then you have to sell them and you have to break that belief. Okay. Well, how long have you been struggling with this for? Okay. Well, what's the cost can be if this looks like this from 3 years? Do you really think anything's going to change? Why you keep putting this off, right? That's how you get that tie down. Once you get all those tie downs, you remove every single reason for when you ask for money, because they want to be logical and they want to have commitment consistency bias. They don't want to combat what they said earlier. We're not telling them and forcefully trying to break these beliefs on their behalf. We're trying to ask questions to get them to sell themselves as to why all the common sticking points, budget, timing, authority, need, doubt being, can they do this on their own? We need to break all those before we ask for money. Okay. And we do that by asking questions. We get them to say it to themselves. And then when we do make our big ask, very high likelihood they're going to say yes. Okay. Last thing that is very, very important is a slide deck and tiered pricing guide. Okay. Based on the campaigns that we run, we can see the upper range for terms of financial qualification, the lower range of financial qualification. What we do is we create offers for all, they're the same outcome. Okay, so it's like, Hormozi's example he talks about, he's like, you're still selling a trip to now. If you're selling a weight loss offer, I can give you a $27 ebook, or I can come to your house every morning and massage you and stretch you out and do all your meal plan and motivate you one-on-one. Okay. So what you want to do in order to capture the highest amount of revenue per customer is you really want to have a tiered pricing structure. And what we do for this offer is we have a $20,000 offer, a $6,000 offer, and a $3,000 offer. Okay. And this is a big personal brand this is for. So the big personal brand came to me and said, I don't sell my time. I don't do one-on-one calls. And I say, okay, bullshit. Everybody has an hourly rate. What is that number for you? And it came down to $20,000 for 30 minutes, about $60,000 an hour. So we put it on the menu. Now, are a lot of people taking that? No, we sold 4 units of the $20,000 offer, and we sold, I think, 150 high ticket deals. So it's less than a few percent. But what that does, it anchors everything so that the next prices seem relatively low. We start at that price, and then we go down to 6,500. And then if we can't get 6,500, then we go to 3,000. And then here's where things get really dangerous, okay? And is we combine third-party financing so that if they can't do $3,000 today, they can do $500 a month. Okay. So that's how you achieve the 25% close rate. You've literally removed every issue that people could have prior to the sales call. You have the tie down, so all the logistical things are sorted. You've given them enough information to make a decision. It's not an information gathering call, it's a discovery call. If somebody starts a sales call with, so what do you guys do? It's very, very difficult to win from there. Okay. It's typically going to extend the sales cycle. Okay. Versus they get to call and say, hey, I watched this. I learned about this. This stood out to me, but I'm concerned about this. How can you walk me through that? You're going to do a lot better. Now, it's very, very important that when you are doing the slide deck and you're presenting pricing and you're using this tiered pricing structure, by the way, this is modeled by SaaS. SaaS does this, right? ClickFunnels is 97, 297, 497 or something like that. They make more money than if you just had 97, right? So it's the same thing with high ticket sales. I've just taken that from that industry and applied it in our info coaching industry. But it's very, very important that you do not overwhelm the prospect with, you overwhelm them with these options. So what you want to do is after you go through your discovery, you get your tie downs, you go to your pitch. I always have a slide deck that corresponds with the pitch. And that does 2 things, okay? The main thing that it's going to do for this offer, for any sales offer, the main thing that is going to do for you is it's going to not preoccupy their mental mind. It doesn't require their working memory. Okay, I learned this from working in corporate America. If you have these busy executives, they're hyper intelligent, but they're hyper scattered, and they're being pushed and stretched mentally every single day. You have to remove mental bandwidth from them in order to create good and positive experiences around them. Okay, executives don't like it when you create complexity and put mental. You force them to exert, to understand you, to work with you, to understand your offering. I heard Alex Hormozi say recently, he said, people will not remember what you said on the call. They'll remember how you made them feel during that call. And they will remember if it was simple and if it was easy to understand. So even smart people, they need to be communicated in a way that's very, very simple. And one of the surefire ways to confuse people and frustrate people and not be clear is to force them to use their working memory to remember what you said. But if I can get to my pitch and I can have these bullet points, it helps me stay on track in terms of my pitch. Sure, I can slip over slides if it doesn't end up being important to that particular prospect. But what it also does, it doesn't allow me to use my working memory. So as I'm saying it, they're seeing it visually. It's hitting 2 parts of the brain and it's landing very, very simply. So they feel very relaxed. It's landing in a very effortless way for them to make a decision. They can see clearly on the same slide. We kind of use a slide where it has the features, the deliverables on the rows, and the tiers on the column section, and they see option 1, option 2, option 3. And there's a checkbox if the intersection of that tier and that deliverable are supported in that package, and an X if it's not supported. So I'm sure you've seen this, right? Like if you Google a software company, you'll see a competitor's landing pages where it'll show all their features and benefit next to the competitor to try and poach that traffic from the competitor, right? We're kind of doing the same thing here, but we're comparing our own offers internally. And we're telling them, like, look, you can still get 80% of the benefits. You're just not going to get the same level of support. So that's how you're able to extract more value out of your lead list. But you're starting by first starting with that $20,000 offer, then that $6,000 offer. And then the $3,000 offer seems very, very cheap in comparison. And then you're going to show them everything that they're going to get. They're going to get 80% of the benefit of those 2 other packages with that third option there. And you do not want to overwhelm them. So it has to be there visually in the brain, and it has to be auditorily or verbally told to them. Okay. A lot of people that you're going to work with are going to be more visual than they are verbal. Okay. And if you hit both parts of the brain, it becomes exponentially more effective. So anyway, that's everything that I have to share for today. I hope this was helpful. We talked about the month-over-month growth, the key metrics that we're tracking, the daily reporting, the department leads who are own and responsible for every metric, not the to-dos and the actions, but the outcome of that particular department. That's how it frees up a lot of bandwidth for me to be working on the company instead of in the company. We showed you some of the proof, okay? We showed you our funnel structure, our lead scoring system, how the pixel is being fired. We showed you our Hyros setup, okay? Install the code, make sure your tracking percentage is higher than 80%. It's only 50 in this image here. Create widgets for each platform source, organic and paid. If it's a paid dashboard, make sure you prioritize the paid source. Evaluate every channel through first, last, and scientific attribution modes, okay? And then look at every single lead high ticket deal that comes through. Look at their lead history, see if you notice any patterns there. And once you get to the sales team aspect of that and you feel like that part of the business is deconstrained, make sure you have daily reporting. You can follow this template that you have here. Hire some VAs in the Philippines for $7 an hour to fill this out every single day, and then make decisions about your hires. The 2 most important metrics, more so than close rate, that I'm looking at are cash collected per booking, cash collected per live call, okay? Close rate is a bit of a vanity metric, okay? You can have very, very low average cash collected rates and a high close rate. And that's still losing your business money. Okay. What I'm specifically looking for is I want to know upfront cash collected for high ticket deals divided by the number of book calls, right? Per rep. Okay. That's really what's going to tell you which reps are making you the most amount of money. Okay. And then you can also track cash collected per live call, but you want to be reliant on multiple different pieces of data because individually they don't tell the whole story by themselves. Okay. And then if you're struggling to get a 25% close rate on cold traffic, you've deconstrained everything, okay? Up until that point, you're getting qualified calls on your sales call. You're talking to the right avatar. Make sure that you have lead nurture and pre-call content at our company. Okay, we would set up campaigns on your behalf that they would consume 50 pieces of organic content prior to speaking with you. Make sure you have obstacle prevention, okay, by getting those tie downs before the sales call. It's a Cole Gordon concept. Before they get to the decision point in the sales call after your pitch, okay? Make sure you have a slide deck and tiered pricing guide, okay, to take off that the need for them to be bogged down with their working memory to remember what you're saying as you're talking about it. Like if you're talking to somebody on the sales call and they're like, wait, so what was the first package again? And you're noticing strain, mental tax, you're killing your sales. It has to be simple, light, easy for them to understand. Even if you're dealing with a hyper intelligent person, I think 80% of sales is clarity and ease for your communication over being really fancy. Okay. If there's any jumbled communication, like I'm kind of doing right now, it's a bit late right now. I'm a bit kind of dozing off, but if there's any jumbled communication, exhausting, taxing communication, that is going to put a halt in the buying process. And that will cast uncertainty on the executive or the prospect that you are communicating to. Okay. And the last part is just have a differentiated offer that takes away the last piece in people's mind, the last possible objection that could come up, which is, can somebody else do it for me cheaper? Or can I do this myself? Okay. If you do all those things, I'd be shocked if you didn't achieve a 25% close rate and a 3x ROAS on cold traffic and scale your business. So that's everything that I have for you. My name is Sam Sauter. I've run a digital marketing agency for the last 8 years of my life. And if you're doing more than 100 grand a month, I'd love to talk to you about running your paid ads. If you already have a channel that's working for you, maybe you have Meta working really well or YouTube working really well, but you want to add LinkedIn or PPC to diversify, I would love to have a conversation with you. Or maybe you hate your existing media buyer and you're saying, hey, I would rather hire him, to give him a try and see if, he could help us out. Okay. If you're doing less than 100 grand a month, we have done with you options to help you get to 100 grand a month. So still book a call, talk to somebody on my team and talk about some of the educational offerings where you can work directly with me. You can work directly with my media buyers, my copywriters, my sales manager, everybody that I have relied on, the experts in my life. We can provide that consult and that guidance that you need to get to 100 grand a month in your info coaching consulting business, okay? Or your high ticket service-based business. We have about 50% are info, selling information and or coaching, and then 50% of the clients are selling high ticket service, okay? So Anyway, that's our business. That's everything that I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed me yapping for the last 40 minutes, and I'll talk to you soon.